The starship Aurora cut through the darkness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside the command center, Tai-Jin checked the navigation screens. As a human diplomat and former Special Forces soldier, he was used to tough missions, but this one was just a simple trip to the Galactic Council meeting. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal," reported his ship's AI. "It's coming from Sector 7, a restricted area known for dangerous solar flares." Tai-Jin frowned. Sector 7 was off-limits for good reason. The unpredictable radiation storms had destroyed many ships over the years. "Show me the signal strength," he ordered, studying the pulsing red dot on his screen. "Warning," the AI continued. "The next solar flare is predicted in approximately 40 minutes. Rescue attempt is not recommended." Tai-Jin ran his hand through his dark hair. Something didn't feel right about leaving someone stranded, especially with a deadly solar flare. Approaching. "Humans don't ignore distress calls," he muttered. "Plot the fastest course to the signal source." The Aurora changed direction, its engines humming with increased power as it headed toward the danger zone. Tai-Jin suited up in his space gear, checking the oxygen levels and shield strength. As they approached the damaged vessel, he could see it was a research ship. Its sleek design was marred by what looked like burn marks along one side. The name, Stellar Explorer, was barely visible on its hull. "It's an Interstellar Science Academy vessel," Tai-Jin said, surprised. The Academy was known for its brilliant researchers from across the galaxy. "Prepare for boarding." Using his ship's docking tube, Tai-Jin entered the damaged vessel. The main corridor was dark, with emergency lights casting eerie red shadows. The air felt thin, suggesting life support systems were failing. "Hello? This is Tai-Jin of Earth Diplomatic Corps. I'm responding to your distress call," he called out, his voice echoing in the empty hallway. No response came. Following the life sign readings on his wrist device, he made his way deeper into the ship. The corridor ended at a sealed door with a flashing red warning light. "Life forms detected beyond this point," his device indicated. The door's control panel was damaged. Without hesitation, Tai-Jin attached a small device to the panel, overriding the lock mechanism. With a hiss of escaping air, the heavy door slowly slid open. 4 pairs of eyes turned toward him. None of them human. A human? Here? The first alien's voice was melodic, her blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. Thin, translucent fins extended from her arms and head, fluttering with surprise. This was Nari, a Merzian from the water worlds. Next to her stood a being that seemed to be made of living crystal. Light reflected off her faceted skin as she turned to face Tai-Jin. "We calculated a 97.3% probability that no rescue would come," said Yoon, her voice ringing like glass chimes. The third alien had feathers instead of hair, and her graceful movements suggested she came from a low-gravity world. "You shouldn't be here. The solar flare." Ju's large amber eyes blinked with concern. The fourth alien, whose skin had a greenish tint with leaf-like patterns, stepped forward. Tiny flowers bloomed and withered in her hair as she spoke. "Why would you risk yourself for strangers?" asked Hana, the plant-based Florian. Tai-Jin glanced at his wrist device. "We have 30 minutes before the solar flare hits. We need to move now." The ship suddenly shuddered and a warning alarm began to sound. "The reactor is becoming unstable," Yoon explained, her crystalline face reflecting the flashing emergency lights. "We were studying the unusual solar patterns when a smaller flare damaged our engines and energy core." Tai-Jin quickly assessed the situation. "My ship is docked on level 3. Can all of you travel in space gear?" The aliens nodded, though Ju looked worried. "Our emergency suits were damaged in the lab explosion. Then we'll use the emergency transport tube," Tai-Jin decided. "It's designed for quick evacuation." As they moved through the failing ship, Yoon explained their mission. "We were collecting data on the strange behavior of this star. The flares have been growing stronger and more frequent." "Not the time for a science lesson," Tai-Jin said, checking his device again. "We're down to 25 minutes. They reached the ship's shuttle bay, but another problem awaited them. The emergency transport tube mechanism was damaged. Tai-Jin examined the control panel, then began pulling tools from his belt. The aliens watched in amazement as he quickly rewired circuits and bypassed damaged systems. Humans were known for their adaptability, but seeing it in action impressed even these brilliant scientists. This goes against all safety protocols, Yoon observed as Tai Jin crossed wires that caused sparks to fly. Humans call it improvising. He grunted, continuing his work. Sometimes you have to break the rules to survive. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the ship. Part of the ceiling collapsed and Ju was directly in its path. Without hesitation, Tae-jin leaped forward, shielding her with his body as metal debris crashed down upon them. The impact knocked the air from his lungs, but his reinforced space suit absorbed most of the damage. "Your endurance is remarkable," Ju whispered, her feathers quivering with shock as Tae-jin pushed the heavy debris aside and helped her up. "We need to move faster," he said, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. "The ship is breaking apart." Finally, the transport tube hummed to life. "Everyone in now," Tae-jin ordered, helping Nari, whose fin-like appendages made movement in low gravity awkward. As they all entered the tube, the ship gave another violent shudder. 15 minutes until the solar flare, the automated system announced calmly. The Bayu tube detached from the dying research vessel and began its short journey to the Aurora. Through the small viewport they watched as sections of the Stellar Explorer began to break apart. All those research samples, years of work. Nari's voice was sad as she watched their ship disintegrate. "Data can be replaced. Lives can't," Tae-jin replied, guiding the tube toward his ship's docking port. As they safely boarded the Aurora, Tae-jin rushed to the command center, the 4 aliens following behind. "Engine power to maximum," he ordered his AI. "We need to clear this sector before the flare hits." The Aurora's engines roared to life, pushing them away from the dangerous area. On the main screen they watched as a massive burst of energy erupted from the star, engulfing the space where the research vessel had been just minutes before. "That was unexpectedly heroic," Yoon said, her crystalline form glittering under the ship's lights. Tae-jin shrugged. "Just doing what any human would do." As the Aurora sped toward safety, the 4 alien scientists looked at their human rescuer with new appreciation. None of them knew yet how this chance encounter would change their lives, and the relationship between humans and the galactic community, forever. The ship shook violently as another explosion rocked the damaged research vessel. Tae-jin checked the time display on his wrist. 12 minutes until the deadly solar flare would hit them. "We need to leave now," he told the 4 alien scientists. "My ship can outrun the flare, but we need to move quickly." Yoon's crystal body glimmered as she pointed to a sealed door. "The main engine room is through there. If we could restart the backup systems, perhaps—" "No time," Tae-jin cut in. "This ship is falling apart." As if to prove his point, the floor beneath them trembled. Warning lights flashed red all around them and a computerized voice announced, "Critical failure imminent. All personnel evacuate immediately." Nari, the aquatic Mercian, moved closer to the group. Her blue skin glowed softly in the dim emergency lighting. "The shuttle bay might still be operational. It's on the lower level." Tai-jin nodded and took the lead. The 4 aliens followed closely behind him as they made their way through the corridor. Pieces of ceiling fell around them. The air grew thinner as the life support systems continued to fail. "This way," called Ju, her feathers fluttering as she pointed to an emergency ladder. "This will take us down to the shuttle level, one by one." They climbed down the ladder. Tae-jin went last, making sure everyone made it safely. When they reached the shuttle level, they found more damage. Sparks flew from broken panels on the walls. 9 minutes until solar flare, announced the ship's computer. The group hurried toward the shuttle bay doors. When they arrived, Tae-jin's heart sank. The control panel was completely destroyed. "The manual override," said Hana, the plant-based Florian. Small flowers bloomed and died in her green hair as she spoke. "It's behind that panel." Tae-jin pried, opened the metal cover, revealing a complex set of wires and circuits. Many were burned or broken. "Can you fix it?" asked Nari, her voice filled with worry. I can try, Tai-Jin replied. He pulled tools from his belt and began working on the wires. His human fingers moved quickly, connecting circuits that still had power. Yoon watched with interest. Your species has remarkable adaptability. Most races would need specific training for such repairs. Humans are good at making things work when they need to, Tai-Jin said, not looking up from his task. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked. 7 minutes until solar flare, the computer reminded them. Just as Tai-Jin connected the final wire, another explosion shook the ship. A support beam broke loose from the ceiling, falling directly toward Hana. Tai-Jin lunged forward, pushing her out of the way. The heavy beam missed her but struck his leg. Are you injured? Hana asked, her leafy skin changing color with concern. Tai-Jin winced as he stood. I'll be fine. The door's working now. Let's go. The shuttle bay doors slid open slowly, revealing a single escape pod. It was smaller than ideal, but it would have to do. 5 minutes until solar flare. They rushed into the small craft. Tai-Jin took the pilot's seat while the aliens squeezed into the passenger area. This pod isn't designed for deep space travel, Yoon observed. It cannot outrun the flare. It doesn't need to, Tai-Jin replied as he powered up the pod's systems. We just need to reach my ship. I left it in auto-dock mode not far from here. The pod detached from the dying research vessel with a jolt. Through the viewport they watched as sections of the larger ship began to break apart. 3 minutes until solar flare, Tai-Jin navigated through the debris field, steering the pod toward where the Aurora waited. The small craft wasn't built for speed, and it struggled against the increasing solar winds. The radiation is already affecting our systems, Nari said, pointing to the flickering control panel. Tai-Jin didn't respond. He focused entirely on piloting, his hands steady despite the danger. The pod rocked violently as energy waves from the coming flare began to hit them. 1 minute until solar flare. The Aurora came into view, its sleek shape a welcome sight. Tai-Jin activated the emergency docking sequence. The pod's engines sputtered as they approached. We're losing power, Ju said, her voice tense. We'll make it, Tai-Jin assured her, though he wasn't certain himself. With a final burst from the failing engines, the pod reached the Aurora's docking bay. The magnetic locks engaged just as the pod systems went completely dark. Docking complete, announced the Aurora's AI. Warning, major solar flare imminent. Tai-Jin rushed the group from the pod to the Aurora's bridge. His injured leg slowed him down, but adrenaline kept him moving. Maximum power to engines, he ordered as soon as they reached the control room. Get us out of this sector now! The Aurora's powerful engines roared to life. On the main screen, they watched as the star expelled a massive burst of energy. The deadly flare engulfed the space where the research vessel had been just moments before turning the debris into nothing but cosmic dust. That was closer than I would prefer, Yoon said, her crystalline form reflecting the emergency lights. Tai-Jin finally allowed himself to relax slightly. Welcome aboard the Aurora, he said. We should be safe now. The 4 aliens looked at their human rescuer with newfound respect. None of them had ever seen such bravery from a species many in the galaxy considered primitive. Why risk your life for strangers? Hana asked. Tai-Jin smiled tiredly. That's just what humans do. The Aurora glided smoothly through space, its engines humming quietly as it carried its 5 passengers away from danger. In the ship's comfortable living area, Tai-Jin checked the medical scanner over his injured leg while the 4 alien scientists watched with curiosity. Your healing ability is remarkable, observed Yoon, her crystalline body catching the light, as she moved closer. A similar injury would take my species weeks to recover from. Tai-Jin shrugged. Humans heal quickly. It's nothing special. He put the scanner away and looked at the group. We're on course for Galactic Central Station. We should arrive in 3 days. Nari, the aquatic Mercian, drifted closer. Her blue skin seemed to ripple like water even in the ship's artificial gravity. 3 days gives us time to learn about each other. Few of us have met humans before. Most of what we know comes from official reports, added Ju. adjusting her feathered wings. They describe humans as primitive but surprisingly resilient. Taijin smiled. That sounds about right. We're newcomers to the galactic community, only 50 years since first contact. The ship's AI announced that dinner was ready. Taijin had programmed it to create food suitable for each species' unique biology. They gathered around the table, each with different colored dishes designed for their specific needs. In my culture, sharing food creates a special bond, said Hana, the plant-based Florian. Small flowers bloomed briefly in her leafy hair as she spoke. It means we are no longer strangers. Humans feel the same way, Taijin replied. Breaking bread together, we call it. As they ate, the conversation flowed naturally. Taijin learned that each alien specialized in different scientific fields, all united by their research mission. I study ocean ecosystems, Nari explained. Her translucent fins moved gracefully as she spoke. My people live in the deep waters of Mercia. Our society is led by females who prove their worth through great achievements. Is that why you joined the Science Academy? Taijin asked. Nari nodded. To bring honor to my family line. Only the best are accepted into the academy. Yoon spoke next, her voice like chimes. I research crystalline computing. My people, the lithoids, value logical connections above emotional ones. We form bonds based on intellectual compatibility. That sounds very different from human relationships, Taijin said. We often connect through emotions first. How inefficient, Yoon replied, but there was a note of curiosity in her voice. Ju stretched her feathered arms. I study atmospheric sciences. My people, the sky folk, live in floating cities high above our planet's surface. We're bound by ancient traditions, including arranged partnerships based on family connections. And you? Taijin turned to Hana. I specialize in communication between species, the Florian answered. Tiny green vines curled and uncurled along her arms as she spoke. My people are collective-minded. Individual connections are rare among us. We typically think as a group. Yet you chose to join a mission with different species, Taijin noted. I wanted to understand others better, Hana said. Different perspectives create stronger science. After dinner, Taijin showed them the ship's observation deck. Stars streamed past the large windows as they traveled at high speed. The five stood in comfortable silence, watching the universe pass by. Tell us about Earth, Ju finally said. What makes humans different from other species? Taijin thought for a moment. We're adaptable. Earth has many different environments, and humans learn to live in all of them. We're curious, sometimes too much for our own good, and we value freedom highly. Is that why you risked yourself to save us? Yoon asked. Freedom? No, Taijin said. That was because of another human trait. We don't leave people behind, even strangers. It's part of who we are. The aliens exchanged glances, clearly finding this concept unusual. In my culture, said Nari, such actions would only be taken for family or those who could benefit your status. Many species feel the same, added Ju. Helping strangers with no benefit to yourself is uncommon. Taijin smiled. Maybe that's why humans have made friends quickly in the galaxy. We help first and ask questions later. Over the next 2 days, they continued to share stories and cultural knowledge. Taijin taught them Earth games like chess and poker. The aliens shared their own cultural pastimes. Nari demonstrated graceful water dances. Yoon created complex logic puzzles. Ju performed traditional sky songs, and Hana shared collective meditation techniques. On the third day, as they approached Galactic Central Station, Taijin found the 4 aliens in deep discussion that stopped when he entered the room. Is everything okay? He asked. Yes, Nari answered quickly. We were just discussing how this experience has changed our understanding of humans. And possibly, added Yoon with an unusual hint of emotion in her crystalline voice, our understanding of connections between different species. Taijin didn't know it yet, but these connections would soon become much more complicated than he could imagine. The Galactic Central Station appeared in the view screen, a massive spinning wheel of metal and glass where thousands of species lived and worked together. Tae-jin guided the Aurora into its assigned docking bay, proud to show his new friends one of humanity's favorite places in the galaxy. "Welcome to Central," he said as the docking clamps secured the ship. "It's not as pretty as some alien stations, but humans helped build it, so I'm a bit biased." News of their arrival spread quickly. By the time they exited the ship, a small crowd had gathered. Officials from the Galactic Council approached, led by a tall insect-like being with shimmering wings. "Commander Tae-jin," the official buzzed through its translator. "We received word of your rescue mission. The Council wishes to acknowledge your actions." Tae-jin looked uncomfortable with the attention. "I just responded to a distress call. Any ship would have done the same." Yet no other ship did, the official noted. The research vessel was in a restricted zone where few would risk themselves. The official turned to the 4 scientists. "Your data was recovered from the emergency beacon. Your findings on the unusual solar activity are already being studied." A formal ceremony was arranged for that evening. The huge meeting hall was filled with representatives from many worlds. Tae-jin, dressed in his diplomatic uniform, stood before the council as they presented him with a rare honor, the Star of Courage, given to those who risked their lives to save others. "The human species continues to surprise us," announced the council leader. "Though they joined our community only recently, they have shown qualities that remind us of our shared values across the stars." At the reception after the ceremony, Tae-jin found himself surrounded by curious aliens, eager to meet the human hero. Though he answered their questions politely, he was relieved when his diplomatic superior finally approached. "Good work, Commander," said Ambassador Lee. "This has raised humanity's standing considerably. Your rescue mission will open doors for our diplomatic efforts." "I wasn't thinking about diplomacy at the time," Tae-jin admitted. The ambassador smiled. "That's exactly why it worked. Now your mission here is complete. Your new assignment starts next week. You'll be returning to Earth." The news should have made Tae-jin happy. He hadn't been home in over a year. Yet as he looked across the room at the 4 scientists he had rescued, he felt strangely reluctant to leave. Over the next few days, Tae-jin noticed odd behavior from his new friends. Nari began leaving small, shimmering objects in his quarters. When he asked about them, she simply said they were gifts of worth from her homeworld. Yoon requested his help with various problems, carefully observing how he solved each one. "Your approach is fascinating," she would say, recording his answers in her crystalline memory banks. Ju followed him around the station, asking detailed questions about his life on Earth. Sometimes she would suddenly perform beautiful aerial displays when they were alone, then quickly stop if others appeared. Hana spent hours in his company, quietly growing small flowers that released pleasant scents whenever he was near. "They respond to your presence," she explained when he noticed. The night before his scheduled departure, Tae-jin was packing his few belongings when his door chimed. It was Nari, holding a large pearlescent object that glowed with inner light. "Before you leave," she said, "I must offer you this rare pearl from the deepest ocean of my world. It symbolizes that I find you worthy of joining my familial line." She held it out to him. "I am asking you to become my life partner." Tae-jin stared in shock. Before he could respond, his door chimed again. Yoon entered, carrying a complex crystalline structure that pulsed with colored light. "I have created this matrix containing my complete genetic and mental pattern," she announced. "By offering it to you, I am proposing a logical bond between us, what your people would call marriage." As Tae-jin looked between the 2 aliens, in confusion, the door chimed a 3rd time. Ju flew in, her feathers arranged in an elaborate pattern he had never seen before. "I must perform the sky dance of union," she said, beginning to move in graceful patterns around his quarters. "My family has agreed that the honor debt I owe you can only be settled through partnership." Before she could finish, Hana entered. The flowers in her hair were in full bloom, releasing a sweet, intoxicating scent. These pheromones represent the joining of separate life paths, she explained. I am asking you to form a collective bond with me. Tae-jin looked from one alien to another, completely bewildered. All four were proposing marriage to him at the same time, each following their own cultural traditions. I don't understand, he finally managed to say. Why would you all want to marry me? The four aliens exchanged confused glances. Did you not know? Asked Nari. By saving my life at risk to your own, you performed the ultimate proof of genetic fitness in my culture. By solving problems together during our escape, added Yoon, we formed an intellectual bond that my people consider sacred. When you shielded me from falling debris, Ju explained, you created an honor debt that can only be resolved through partnership. And by sharing your living space and stories, finished Hana, we created a biochemical synchronicity that my species sees as the foundation for lifelong bonds. Tae-jin sat down heavily on his bed, the reality of the situation finally dawning on him. What he had done out of simple human decency, each alien had interpreted through the lens of their own cultural marriage customs. I think, he said slowly, we need to talk about some cultural differences. Tae-jin sat with the four aliens in his quarters, surrounded by their marriage proposal gifts. His mind raced as he tried to find the right words. This was not covered in any diplomatic training he had received. I'm honored by your proposals, he began carefully. But on Earth, saving someone's life doesn't automatically mean marriage. The aliens looked at him with confusion. Then why did you save us? Nari asked, her blue fins rippling with emotion. Because you needed help, Tae-jin explained simply. Humans believe all life is valuable. We try to help others when we can without expecting anything in return. Yoon's crystalline face reflected the room's light as she processed this information. That seems illogical. Actions should have clear purposes and expected outcomes. Not everything humans do is logical, Tae-jin admitted. We're often guided by feelings rather than reason. So the things you did, the problem-solving, the protection, the sharing, they meant nothing special to you? Ju's feathers drooped slightly. They meant something, Tae-jin assured her. Just not marriage. They were acts of friendship and duty. Hana, who had been quiet, finally spoke. Your culture is very different from ours. Perhaps we should learn more about human bonding customs. Tae-jin nodded gratefully. That's a good idea. Let me check the ship's database to show you how humans typically form relationships. He activated his computer terminal and pulled up information about human dating and marriage customs. The aliens gathered around, studying the screens with great interest. So humans spend time together first, sharing experiences and talking before deciding on partnership? Nari asked. Yes, Tae-jin confirmed. We call it dating. It can last months or even years before marriage is considered. And both individuals must clearly express interest, Yoon noted. There are no automatic bonds formed through specific actions? Exactly. Both people need to agree explicitly. Ju touched the screen showing a human wedding ceremony. These rituals seem simpler than ours, yet also more complicated in other ways. They spent hours discussing the differences between their cultures' approaches to relationships. Tae-jin explained human concepts of love, dating, and marriage, while the aliens shared more about their own traditions. In my ocean world, Nari explained, we have few resources. Choosing a strong partner who can protect offspring is essential. When you risked your life for me, you demonstrated supreme genetic fitness. For my species, Yoon continued, emotional connections are secondary to intellectual compatibility. Solving life-threatening problems together creates neural patterns that we consider binding. The Skyfolk believe that protection freely offered creates a debt that must be repaid, Ju said. Traditional partnerships often begin this way. And Florians bond through shared spaces and biochemical exchanges, Hana finished. Living together on your ship started a connection process we typically cannot reverse. As morning approached, a new understanding began to form between them. The aliens realized that Tae-jin had acted from different cultural expectations, while He gained deeper insight into their worlds. "I'm sorry for the misunderstanding," Taejin said sincerely. "I never meant to mislead any of you." "We are the ones who made assumptions," Nari replied. "We judged your actions through our own cultural lenses." A thoughtful silence fell over the group. Then Yoon spoke, her voice ringing like clear bells. "Perhaps this situation presents an opportunity. Our cultural exchange has been valuable, has it not?" The others nodded in agreement. "What if," Yoon continued, "we formalize this exchange, not as life partners, but as cultural ambassadors?" Taejin sat up straighter. "What do you mean?" "I believe the Galactic Council would benefit from better understanding human values," Yoon explained, "and humans could learn from our perspectives as well. A formal cultural exchange program," Ju added, warming to the idea, "with representatives from all 5 of our worlds." Taejin considered this. His mission on Earth wasn't scheduled to start for another 2 weeks. He could delay it if necessary for something this important. "I would need to speak with Ambassador Lee," he said, "but I think it's a brilliant idea." Later that day, they presented their proposal to the Galactic Council. The unusual circumstances of their meeting and the misunderstandings that followed caught the Council's interest immediately. Such a program could prevent similar cultural confusions in the future, the Council leader observed. "We approve this initiative and will provide resources for its development." Ambassador Lee was equally supportive. "This is exactly the kind of soft diplomacy we need," she told Taejin. "Your new assignment will be leading this cultural exchange program." 1 month later, Taejin stood before a class of mixed species at the newly established Center for Interstellar Cultural Studies. Beside him were his 4 friends, each ready to share insights about their worlds. "Our story began with a rescue," Taejin told the attentive students, "but it became something much more important, a lesson in how differently we can interpret the same actions." Nari stepped forward. "We learned that bravery can mean different things to different species, and that assumptions based on our own cultural norms can lead to misunderstandings," added Yoon. "But with patience and open minds," continued Ju, "these misunderstandings can lead to new possibilities. Together we create something stronger than any of us could alone," finished Hana, small flowers blooming briefly in her green hair. As Taejin looked at his 4 friends and the diverse group of students before them, he felt a deep satisfaction. What had begun as a simple rescue mission had transformed into something that might help bring the galaxy's many cultures closer together. Not a marriage of individuals, but perhaps something even more meaningful, a union of worlds and ideas.